Today we are speaking with Marissa McMillen. I first met Marissa through Plexus. So great company for supplements, and I really enjoyed the pink drink. So Marissa was hooking me up with a pink drink, and yeah, all that good stuff. But we just formed a relationship and have chatted back and forth over the years. And I wanted to have Marissa on today to share her journey with alcohol. So I follow her on social media and noticed that she has stopped drinking, and so I just wanted her to talk a little bit more about that with us. So Marissa, I'll let you introduce yourself and dive into it, and then I'll ask you a few questions too.
Awesome. Well, I'm very honored and excited to be here. So thank you so much for having me.
Of
I'm all
course.
about backdrop, community, women getting together. I think it's really needed at a time like this. And so a little bit about me. My name is Marissa McMillen. I've been married for, oh my gosh, a long time, since 2011. I'm not a math person.
Yeah.
And I have two boys. One is actually a senior this year. He'll be graduating from Cedar Creek High
Oh,
School. And
wow.
then yeah, it's crazy how time flies. I tell people who have young kids, like, time is going to fly by.
I
It's
know.
very fleeting.
It's true.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then I have a almost 13-year-old son who
Mm.
is in seventh grade. And so we're busy. I've been a sports mom for as long as I can remember, and I'm very active. I love to hang out with my family. I love to be home. I love to travel. I love to get together with women. I love to go to church. I love to serve. And it hasn't always been like that. I feel like I've kind of molded into this person that I am throughout the years. And so yeah, that's just a little bit about me. I've been with Plexus for it'll be 7 years in November, and it was an accidental business for me, but it was just health has always been a passion for me. And
Mhm.
I think sobriety on top of that just kind of added an extra layer of blessings for me for that.
Yeah. So how long has it been since you've stopped drinking, since you cut alcohol?
So officially, I think it's around 200 and maybe 267 days. I don't know. It's January 12th of
Okay.
2025 was my first official day of no alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a long time. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And give us a little background. So, were you drinking every day? Were you drinking when you went out? Because I know a lot of people have different relationships with alcohol, right? There are people who, and I want to go ahead and say before we really dive deep into this that we are not experts in this matter, and we are not trying to diagnose or say what you should do or shouldn't do. It's just sharing Marissa's journey. So, if you feel like you have a problem with alcohol, this is, definitely seek help. And we're talking more about casual drinking and stopping that. So, yes,
Yeah.
go ahead.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm somebody who wants to be accountable with somebody who is looking to, you know, it's addiction, and with that, it's many layers deep with that. And so my story, I was not an everyday drinker. Did I experience in my life where I was? Yes. I feel like a lot of us at a younger age, not a lot, but a lot of people's story is, younger, drinking a lot. That's just what you
Yes.
do, right? It's what the
Yep.
normal is. And so I started drinking when I was probably, I don't know, 16 years old. And
Mhm.
from there, there was definitely times of heavy drinking, not so heavy drinking. I didn't drink when I was pregnant with my two boys. That's where I was like, I would have an occasional beer, but my doctor was like, you shouldn't drink at all. And so what kind of scared me a little bit, but I would have a beer here and there. So those were really the only long-term gaps where I didn't drink.
Yep.
But it was just really leading up when I talk with people who I feel like didn't really have a problem with drinking, they would say, I only drink when I'm social, or I would
Yeah.
never drink alone, or I would only have a couple beers and I would, get a buzz. And for me, my thought was like, gosh, I drink alone. I could drink on the weekends by myself.
Yes. Yep.
I could finish a whole bottle of wine and not be tipsy. Sundays were my champagne days. I would drink a whole bottle of champagne and then probably have like another glass of wine or so after that. And
Mhm.
it was just getting to the point in my life where I was like, I can't do this anymore. There was a time in 2023 where I had taken 90 days of sobriety. I was like, I don't like where this is heading. I
Yep.
need to like not drink for a little bit. And then as soon as I walked onto a cruise for a vacation, I immediately, it was just like second habit. Like
Yeah.
I didn't, wasn't even a thought. I just grabbed the glass of wine and I started drinking again.
Yeah.
And so, and it was just kind of like a little signs and convictions where I knew I needed to stop. I mean, my tolerance from drinking since I was 17 was
Mhm.
ridiculously high.
Mm.
And there was never a point where I couldn't drink a lot. Like I remember after I had my first son, I was 23.
Mhm.
And we went to, that was April of 2012. And in May, the next month, I was turning 24 and I wanted to
Mhm.
go out and celebrate. I remember I had 4 or 5 margaritas and I was, you know, still okay. I remember little things like that where I was like,
Yes.
still, I wasn't drunk. And so, and I would brag about that. And so,
Mhm.
the way that, I've kind of grown into my faith a lot and grown into who I am and, preaching about health and wellness and taking care of your body, bragging about things like that or bragging about, being hungover and stuff. I don't know if it's just because of my age now, being
Mm.
41, but
Mhm.
it's like, that's not something that I want to show my kids.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So,
that makes sense. And I think, you mentioned building a tolerance and I think for some it might just kind of it does become so much of a routine. And I've heard this mentioned before by an expert that it's not really, and for some it might not be this. I don't know. It might be an actual I think for people who are more casual drinkers, I'll say this, that it's not really the drinking that they're addicted to, the alcohol, but it's the habit and the routine, right? It's just like brushing your teeth or anything else. You come home, you grab a snack, you grab a glass of wine, and that's that. And so I think it does become such a routine that it's hard to break. And you can get into, like a slippery slope where then you're consuming a whole bottle or, whatever it is. So,
yeah.
yeah, no judgment at all. But I think, as far as your story, it makes total sense that, you look up one day and you're like, wow, I don't want this to be my story. Or I don't want to continue this. So, was it one day that it hit you, or was it kind of a buildup? And you said you had thought about it before you took a 90-day break. But was there like a main turning point that made you say, "No, no more, this is it, I'm done?"
I tell people it's like little convictions because I went
Yeah.
on a cruise. So prior to January 12th, I went on a cruise. It was amazing. And I loved the people that I went on the cruise with. And it wasn't anybody in that cruise. It wasn't the cruise itself. It
Mhm.
was convictions prior to that that had just been kind of building up. So that 90-day break, I think, was one little conviction that I needed. And I'll never forget during that 90-day sobriety, I went to see Priscilla Shire, like a simulcast or something
Mhm.
at a church, and we all had a prayer card and we wrote down our prayers and they were all jumbled together. You didn't know whose you were getting. So when you walked out, you grabbed somebody's random prayer
Mhm.
request to pray over
Oh,
them.
cool.
And I'll never forget during that time it said, I really need to quit drinking. I know that's the root of so many of my problems. And I was like, during that 90-day, that just was one little conviction, right? And that was
Mhm.
2 years prior to me quitting, or a year and a half. And then it was just leading up before the cruise. I just felt like I was drinking so much, especially, maybe it was just because it was during the holidays,
Yeah.
vacations and stuff like that. But, and then I started researching and learning and following. Social media can be really powerful in a good way when you
Mhm.
start kind of seeing other people make the change first,
Yeah.
like going sober. And my algorithm kind of knew that, like, I was thinking about sobriety. And so on
Mhm.
Instagram, I was seeing all these people just looking so happy. They were sober. They didn't have a hangover.
Yeah.
Uh, we're doing the hard things. And I'm somebody that I preach is like, you got to do the hard things to live
Yeah.
the life you want. And
Yeah.
so I was seeing it like it was infiltrated in me. And so those were like little convictions over time. And so
Mhm.
it was just these little, I mean, I can't pinpoint every single conviction, but it was
Sure.
definitely leading up to that for a while. I would say at least 8 months, maybe a year, that it was thoughts in my head and little
Yeah.
signs and stuff. And I had started like gaining a little bit of weight. I had started getting a little bit of anxiety, and my
Mhm.
drinking was like, I was drinking every single weekend like clockwork. Like there would
Yeah.
not be, you know, addiction looks different for everybody. There can be
Sure.
functioning alcoholics who
Mhm.
drink a ton and still show up for work Monday like no
Yeah.
problem. And just being able to drink the amount that I was drinking and still not having a hangover when I go to church, or not feeling bad and still being able to pick up where I left off, preaching about health starting Monday again. I'm like, I don't want to be that person. So it was
Yeah.
really just little convictions building up to the cruise. And
Mhm.
then I'd bought the alcohol package on the cruise, and I
Oh,
I maxed out because I think it was like 14 drinks you can have during the day. And I remember like a couple of days at sea, I'd maxed out that. And then I had bought some more drinks after that. And then I calculated, as a health person, I calculated the calories that I intook from those
yeah.
drinks.
Yeah.
And I was not happy. I was like, this is
Yeah.
stupid, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like taking away all the good things in the workouts that you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. It's interesting you said, there's like during the holidays or whatever, but there's never a good time to stop. If you actually decide to stop drinking, my dad is going through the hard 75 right now with his fiance, which I had never heard of until him. And I was like, you're going to do that really? Cause my dad is a social drinker, he's a good time. And it's during football season, which if you know my dad, he is, I mean, all about
Hardcore.
the sports and, he was like, "Lindsay, there's never a good time. There's always something. There's always an event. There's always a holiday. There's always someone's birthday. You just do it." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, that makes sense." Like, there's not the good time is whenever you're ready, I think, and
Yeah.
it's made the decision to not do it. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Interesting.
tried the hard 75. It was during the winter apocalypse, whatever, here in Bastrop. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and I made it to day 33.
Yeah.
But how I quit was I started drinking. I couldn't take like just what was going around in Central Texas from,
Yes.
people being stuck in their homes and stuff. And so
Yeah.
what did I do? I turned to wine. I had some
Yeah.
wine. I'd made it to 33 days. And so it's so true. Like, things are always going to be like, you're going to have something going on. There's going to be
Yeah.
holidays, there's going to be birthdays, there's going to be so many reasons to celebrate and turn to alcohol, because I feel like, as I've been sober, I've really researched like how the world pushes it on us, how the alcohol, like,
Yeah.
society pushes it on, especially moms. You need to
Mm,
relax with a glass of wine, and that's going to take your cares away. And you can't have fun without alcohol, is what I feel is
yeah.
so pushed upon.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
yeah, and I mean, there's nothing wrong. Like, I never want to judge anybody because I was that person. I think people can celebrate with alcohol and be okay. They can go to Fredericksburg and enjoy a winery. Like, nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that. But, like, for me, in my stance, I can't enjoy just like a glass of wine.
A glass.
I had to realize I wanted to continue drinking
Yeah.
to chase that buzz that I feel like I was harder for me to get, you know?
No, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what is, and I want to talk about like a difficult part of this whole process for you and then kind of like a good thing too. Well, I know the good things, the benefits, but just for you personally.
Yeah, it was, well, because I was always the one that was drinking. I was always the one that, people knew I drank. People knew that I
Sure.
would share the wine in my stories. I would share, I need a beer. It's a rough day, give me a whole
Yeah.
bottle of wine. And so when I did go sober and went out and stuff, like, it's been so great because a lot of people have respected that, especially my family, my
Good.
friends, and I never want them, I tell them, because I feel sometimes I can sense that they don't want to drink around me. And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
no, like, do you, like, if you want to have a drink, have a drink. Like, that is
Yeah.
totally okay. Like, this is my heart. It doesn't have to be your heart. And
Hmm.
so I always make sure, because I was the same way, like, going to the sports banquet, and
Yeah.
me and my husband used to be like, yeah, open bar, like, as much
Yeah.
drinks as we want. And so now, going from that to, I'm not drinking at all. It's like, it was so sweet. The last banquet that we went to, I asked the lady, like, if she can make me a mocktail. And so she made me a mocktail. And so
Yeah.
that's been my thing, is like mocktails, having those
Mocktails.
on
Yeah.
hand. And I've read, like, there's new generations forming of sobriety. And
Yeah.
when you go to HEB, or, the grocery stores, you see all these calming seltzers and all these
Yeah.
mocktails. And I tried the alcohol-free wine, and it was disgusting. So,
Yeah.
if there's one out there, like, somebody tell me that tastes really good,
Yeah.
because I haven't
No.
found one. But there's alcohol-free beer. So
Yeah.
yesterday I had a Stella alcohol-free beer,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
while I watched the Cowboys game, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it hits like, I always look ahead when I'm, like, on my journey because I think about it every day.
Mm.
Whether I just got back from an Alaska cruise last week and lots of people were drinking, enjoying,
Yeah.
and my thought, my selfish little sobriety thought is, I'm going to feel really good tomorrow. I'm not
Yeah.
going to feel like crap tomorrow. I'm not
Yeah.
going to have those extra calories. That's
Yeah.
just how I get through in my brain because I choose to have a mocktail. Still something in hand, but it doesn't have
Right.
alcohol on it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, that makes sense. What has been the hardest part or what and probably I imagine it has changed over the course of the year, but what's the hardest point or part of this for you?
Well, it probably is, like, my family and I, we have grown up going to Matzo Rancho, little
Yeah.
things like that. And we love their margaritas and their
Yeah.
queso, like it's our thing. So,
Yeah.
and I think it was February, we went and I was kind of new in my sobriety. And it's still kind of new, but a lot newer. And I couldn't have a margarita. And it's like, I can't have these things. And then that's where my selfish thought comes in. Well, I'm going to feel good tomorrow. I'm not going
Yeah.
to have that extra sugar, but
Yes.
really, it's just, knowing that I'll never have
You're
that.
done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
So
I'm done with that.
you're saying you are forever done without you're not ever gonna have another drink again.
Yes, like,
Yeah.
as of now, things may change when I'm, like, 80 years old
Yeah.
and, I'm gonna have a margarita now
Yeah.
because 'cause I'm getting close to seeing Jesus,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but right now, like, as of this point, it will not serve me even if
Yeah.
I have one, and my addiction, I've had, addiction problems from smoking. I had a really bad drug addiction in high school, like,
Okay.
stuff that, I'm scared. I tell people I'm scared of the teenager that I was because of how bad off I was. Like, I went to rehab when I was 16 for
Wow.
addiction to to marijuana. But it was
Mhm.
after rehab. Rehab is where I learned about the harder drugs and I started
Mhm.
doing the harder drugs after rehab. And
Wow.
so I know, like, I have addiction in me. And
Yeah.
so I know for me, for the family that I want to raise and the person that I want to be right now and for the foreseeable future, like it's not a thing.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you realize that and that you have done this. So I mean, not that it matters, but I'm proud of you. Like that's
Thank you.
amazing. I think
Yeah.
that yeah, it's an amazing journey that you've been on and the fact that you are in this spot now and really healthy, probably the healthiest you've ever been is great.
Yeah.
And talking about health, what is the biggest plus or the biggest bonus that you
Oh
found with
gosh.
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot. Like, even when I started a couple months in, like, I felt like my memory was better. Like, I can
yeah,
remember things. One of the biggest pluses, I mean, obviously my body feels good. Like, I feel good in my clothes. Like, everything just feels kind of aligned. I do have a cold that I got from Alaska, but, other than that, the biggest thing for me is I'm getting stuff done, like stuff that I
yes.
would normally put off
Mhm.
because I would rather sit on the couch and have a drink on the
Yeah,
weekend, because
relax.
again, like, it was just weekend drinking. But, as a mom, like, you don't take weekends off, as a mom and a wife and business owner, you
Yeah,
still got to show up for everything. And so I'm getting so much done. The house is being kept up. I feel like I'm a better wife and mom because I'm showing up for them. I'm able to complete tasks where before I would just put it off and put it off, and it
yeah,
may cause like little rifts here and there. And so I feel like just things have gotten a lot better in different ways.
yeah.
So
No, yeah.
getting stuff done, like no longer anxious, like sleep is better, like my weight is
Mhm.
better. Everything just really feels aligned in my life. Like, it's not perfect. Still have
Yeah,
hard things, of course, which everyone will, but it's a look through.
yeah. No, that's amazing. Are there any apps that you used or anything that you use to help you in case anyone's listening and wants to try to just reduce their alcohol intake or to totally stop? Is there anything that you've used to help you along the way?
There was an app, but I'm not really focused on that. Really, for
Yeah.
me, it's you if if you don't plug in, like, you're gonna plug out. And I say that to my team too about Plexus, but I plugged into a and followed a lot of sober people and sober
Yeah,
encouragement,
yeah,
like whatever, social media app you use if you're on social media. If you don't have social media, find accountability with friends. Like, even if you Google, like, maybe Alcohol Anonymous is something that you need to go to, like, or you do it. There may be online meetings. I thought about going to Alcohol Anonymous,
mhm,
but I just feel like for me, I wanted to find sober friends online and connect with them. And then I
yeah,
also wanted to, like, I transformed my whole Instagram page, Mom Life
mhm.
Sober, to
So you're holding
be.
yourself accountable
Yes.
for
Oh,
yeah,
exactly. And, like, that's been the best thing for me is putting it out there, because if you
yeah,
don't put it out there, you have such an easier escape route
yeah,
to go back to drinking. What So
yeah,
I try to encourage people, like, whether you want to cut down or you want to, like, be like me and just cut cold turkey, like, this
mhm,
here's what I'm doing, here's my encouragement to you. Like, I'm showing up and doing this, like, and I always tell people with anything, if I can do it, you can, because
yeah,
my past, like, I've had a really dark past, and I'm really, like, transformed to be a better person, to be the person that God has called me to. So I feel like if somebody is looking, find sober friends, like, start
mhm,
a sober group. Like, just,
mhm,
you have to put yourself out there, but
yeah,
it can be the best thing that ever has happened to you.
yeah. No, and I think you're right with social media too. I mean, drinking is down in the US as a whole, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just and then you have like Gen Z who's just not interested. So I think for all the, we mentioned before about moms having wine and those kind of posts, there are an equal amount of women posting I'm not drinking or it's still fun without alcohol, those kind of things. So
Yeah.
I think I mean, the movement is huge, right?
Yeah.
To as far as reducing alcohol intake. So yeah,
Yeah.
there are a lot of opportunities out there for someone who wants to stop or reduce to feel like they're still part of a group that,
Yeah.
and there's not
Still
on the
want.
app.
Yeah,
Yeah,
still included, because I know
yeah,
it's hard, like, even on this cruise last week, I've had to, I didn't go out at night. Like, that's the
yeah,
thing, is, like, I
mhm,
have to have boundaries with that.
yep,
And so, because I know I would be surrounded by people dancing and drinking, and sometimes I can go out and dance and, like, drink my
yeah,
water, but sometimes it is hard. I have some hard
yeah,
days, and there isn't a day that I don't think about it. Like, I pray about it every day, like,
mhm,
and a lot of people, sober friends that I've met on Instagram, they're like, or even on Facebook, they're like, just take it one day at a time. And so that's what
yeah,
I tell people. Like, if you are, looking to quit or lower, like, just take it one day at a time. Like, see how you
mhm,
feel that one day, and something else, like, I've looked into is how much alcohol does affect you as a woman aging. So, like, going
oh,
through
yeah,
perimenopause, it's crazy how it affects your hormones. It does
mhm,
affect your mood, your mental health, like, so many
mhm,
different things. Even just having one red glass of wine a night, can really
yeah,
affect you. And so that too has, like, encouraged me to, this is another reason, why I
yeah,
need to quit, because I am approaching that age, and I want to feel my best. And it's so funny, so many women are like, I'm doing all the things to be healthy, and people are like, how's your alcohol intake? And people don't want to talk about that. Like,
don't wanna talk
that's
about it, yeah,
it's a
yeah,
hard one, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
need to lean into that, so I know, this is another reason I don't want to feel like crap.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, well, is there anything else that you wanna share before we wrap it up? Anyone that you wanna tell anyone listening?
Well, first, again, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I will share my story. I tell people I'll share my story with anyone and everyone that'll listen. And if you are, like, thinking about it, I would just encourage you to look into it and find somebody who, maybe you are somebody who's a Christian, find, a church or a sober Christian friend or somebody, or reach out to me, and I'll help you be accountable. But yeah, it's just sobriety have to it doesn't have to be, like, super hard. As long as you have the right people running with you and
Yes.
supporting you, like, it can be such a beautiful thing.
Yeah. No, that's great. No, thank you so much for being on today and for sharing your story. And I know it's going to actually resonate with a lot of people out there. And yeah, so thank you for being so awesome and for putting yourself out there, being
Thank you,
vulnerable.
Lindsay. I
Yeah.
appreciate you having me.
Yeah. That's it for this episode of Real Women of Bastrop. If today's story moved you, made you laugh, or reminded you of the power of community, share it with a friend and please leave us a quick review. It helps more people find these stories and the women behind them.